Ever wonder what happens when a mild interest spirals into a full-blown, should we call someone, obsession? Today, we're prying open the display cases and peering into the shadowy corners of American homes to uncover 49 collections. So bizarre, so utterly specific, they'll make your stamp album look like a cry for help. Prepare for a journey into the delightfully deranged. 1. Garden gnomes. It often starts innocently enough with one cheerful, pointy-hatted ceramic fellow guarding your petunias. Fast forward a few years, and your entire lawn has been annexed by a veritable army of these diminutive sentinels. We're talking classic rosy-cheeked chaps, ghoulish zombie gnomes feasting on plastic flamingos, and even astronaut gnomes boldly going where no lawn ornament has gone before. You tell yourself it's whimsical, a charming conversation starter. Your neighbors, however, are probably taking bets on when the gnomes will achieve sentience and demand tribute. It's a fine line between a hobby and a horticultural hostage situation. 2. Shoehorns. While the average person probably gives as much thought to a shoehorn as they do to the existential angst of a dust bunny, there exists a dedicated faction of collectors who elevate this humble implement to an art form. They're not interested in that flimsy plastic thing you got free with your sneakers. Oh no. These connoisseurs hunt for vintage shoehorns crafted from sterling silver, intricately carved ivory, or exotic woods that probably cost more than the shoes they're designed to ease you into. It's a pursuit that beautifully marries practicality with, why on earth would you collect that? 3. Vintage soda bottles. Before the soulless plastic takeover, soda came in glorious glass bottles, each a miniature, effervescent time capsule. Collectors scour flea markets and forgotten attics for these relics of a sugar-fueled past. While Coca-Cola's iconic contour bottle is the poster child, the real thrill lies in unearthing rare regional brands with bizarre shapes or delightfully misspelled logos. Coca-Cola? Anyone? These aren't just empty containers. They're tangible links to local histories and a reminder that sometimes the best part of the drink was the beautifully designed vessel it came in. Plus, who doesn't love owning an error that's now worth a small fortune? 4. Unusual license plates. For some, a license plate is merely a legally mandated vehicle identifier. For others, it's a canvas for personal expression or a highly sought-after collectible. We're not just talking about gathering plates from all 50 states, though that's a common starting point. The true devotee hunts for vanity plates with hilariously clever or unintentionally awkward messages. I am a nerd, or ooh-oh. Imagine entire walls plastered with these metallic trophies, a testament to bureaucratic creativity and the human desire to make even the mundane memorable. It's a hobby that truly says, I've got my priorities straight, and they involve rusted metal rectangles. 5. Canceled credit cards. While the financially responsible among us dutifully shred our expired plastic money enablers, a niche group of collectors sees treasure where others see only a gateway to debt. They cherish canceled credit cards for their often surprisingly artistic designs. Limited edition superhero motifs, holographic wildlife, or abstract patterns that were probably meant to distract you from the interest rates. Each card is a tiny laminated artifact of consumer trends, marketing strategies, and perhaps a few regrettable late-night online purchases. It's like curating a museum of your past financial decisions, for better or worse. 6. Sports team pennants. Ah, the felt pennant. A triangular beacon of hope, loyalty, and often decades of crushing disappointment. Collectors of vintage sports pennants are preserving a vibrant piece of athletic history, their walls adorned with the retro typography in bold, often faded, colors of teams from baseball, football, or even those obscure minor league franchises that folded after one glorious, loss-filled season. These aren't just decorations for a man cave. They're tangible symbols of unwavering devotion, tribal allegiance, and the eternal optimism that this year, finally, will be their year. Or not. 7. Buttons and pins. From political campaign slogans that now seem hilariously outdated to enamel pins celebrating obscure bands or cryptids, there's a button or pin for literally every fleeting interest or deeply held conviction. Collections can balloon into the thousands, each tiny metal or plastic disc a miniature billboard for a cause, a fandom, or simply a moment in time. Displayed on jackets, corkboards, or in dedicated albums, these collections form a colorful, clattering mosaic of personal history and pop culture ephemera. It's like wearing your entire personality, one tiny, pointy declaration at a time. 8. Miniature grocery items. Why buy actual food when you can collect incredibly detailed, Lilliputian versions of it? The world of miniature grocery item collecting is a surprisingly dedicated one. We're talking teeny-tiny cereal boxes with legible ingredients, minuscule soda cans that could quench the thirst of a particularly small ant, and perfectly formed doll-sized produce. Often originating from toy sets, these items become prized possessions for collectors aiming to recreate a pint-sized, perfectly stocked supermarket. It's a charmingly absurd hobby that celebrates consumerism in its most adorable and arguably most pointless form. 9. Antique doll heads. If you find fully assembled antique dolls a bit unsettling, then prepare yourself for the collectors who bypass the bodies entirely and go straight for the disembodied heads. These porcelain or bisque craniums, often with vacant, staring eyes and unnervingly serene smiles, are salvaged from flea markets and dusty estate sales. Each one carries a silent and potentially terrifying backstory from a bygone era. While some use them for deliberately spooky art projects, others are on a quest for rare, beautifully painted examples of a 19th century toy craftsmanship. It's a fine line between historical appreciation and curating your own personal horror movie. 10. Tiny perfume atomizers. Long before giant utilitarian spray bottles, perfume was often dispensed from exquisite miniature atomizers. These tiny, often luxurious vessels, crafted from cut glass, sterling silver, or delicate crystal, are now prized collectibles. Enthusiasts admire them not just for their original function, but as intricate works of art. Some feature ornate engravings, hand-painted details, or gem-encrusted caps, transforming a simple spritz into an act of opulent self-care. It's a hobby that combines a love for fragrance with an appreciation for diminutive, beautifully impractical objects that whisper of vanity tables and glamorous evenings past. 11. Napkin sketches. While most of us use napkins to prevent a spaghetti sauce-related wardrobe malfunction, for a select few, they are potential canvases for fleeting genius or drunken scribbles. And believe it or not, doodles and sketches on these flimsy paper squares, especially if dashed off by someone vaguely famous or just hilariously untalented, have become collectible. One person's hastily wiped mouth is another's treasured, sauce-stained masterpiece. It's a hobby that proves art can be found in the most disposable of places, often next to a half-eaten breadstick. 12. Broken musical instruments. Most people see a guitar with a snapped neck or a trumpet that's seen one too many bar fights as tragic firewood. But collectors? They see history, character, and a story. A cracked violin could have sobbed its last melody in a Prohibition-era speakeasy. A dented saxophone might have wailed the blues in a smoky New Orleans club. It's less about making music and more about owning a piece of its often violent past. Who needs perfect pitch when you've got a piano key allegedly tickled by a jazz legend before it met its untimely end? 13. Old movie tickets. In an age of QR codes and digital confirmations, the humble paper movie ticket stub feels like an artifact from a lost civilization. While most are destined for the landfill, some people meticulously preserve these flimsy testaments to cinematic experiences. Collectors aren't just after any old stub. They crave tickets from iconic premieres, like the first chaotic showings of Star Wars in 1977, or the grand, three-hanky debut of Gone with the Wind. Each one is a tiny faded portal to a specific darkened room, a shared gasp, or a collective groan at a terrible plot twist. 14. Old newspaper clippings. Before the internet vomited news at us 24/7, newspapers were the gatekeepers of history, one smudgy broadsheet at a time. Collectors treasure clippings from monumental events, the moon landing, the end of major wars, or even just bizarre local happenings involving rogue squirrels. Rare editions, especially those boasting vintage advertisements for products that would now get you sued, are particularly prized. They are fragile time capsules, preserving not just facts, but the very ink and paper of a moment, smelling faintly of yesterday's coffee and impending obsolescence. 15. Marbles with unique swirls. That satisfying clink, the hypnotic swirl of color. Marbles were the original fidget spinners, and for some, the obsession never faded. Collectors don't just want any old glass sphere. They hunt for rare cat's eyes, elusive onion skins, or sulfides, with tiny figures trapped eternally within. The intricate patterns, the subtle imperfections, the specific maker's mark, it's a universe of tiny spherical art. A serious marble collection can turn a grown adult into a treasure-hunting child again, sifting through antique shops for that one perfect, elusive shooter. 16. Old glassware. Your grandma's good glasses, the ones you were never allowed to touch? Yeah, people collect those and often far more obscure and fragile examples. Glassware from the early 20th century, particularly Depression glass in its surprisingly cheerful hues, or elegant, hand-blown Murano pieces that look like captured sunsets, are highly sought after. Collectors become experts in identifying patterns, colors, and the subtle tells of a specific era or maker. It's a hobby that combines a love for beautiful, breakable things with a constant, low-grade anxiety about dusting. 17. Celebrity-owned items. Why simply admire a celebrity from afar when you can own something they once touched, wore, or possibly sneezed on? From Marilyn Monroe's lipstick-stained coffee cup to Michael Jackson's single-sequined glove. The other one is probably in a different collection. These items are the holy grails for a certain type of fan. The more personal and intimate the item, a half-eaten sandwich, a discarded toenail clipping. Okay, maybe not that far, usually. The higher its perceived value and its ick factor for the rest of us. Its fandom turned into a high-stakes auction. 18. Handmade quilts. These aren't just blankets to keep you warm. They're intricate tapestries of fabric, thread, and often generations of family stories. Collectors of handmade quilts appreciate them as unique pieces of folk art. They seek out specific patterns like the log cabin or Dresden plate, particularly those crafted during specific historical periods or by renowned quilting guilds. Each stitch tells a story, each patch a memory, making these far more than just bed coverings. They are cozy, colorful chronicles of domestic artistry and incredible patience. 19. Christmas ornaments. For some, Christmas decorating is a chore. For collectors of vintage Christmas ornaments, it's a year-round treasure hunt. They lovingly seek out delicate, hand-blown glass baubles from the 1940s and 50s, kitschy plastic Santas that look vaguely menacing, or intricate German kugels. These aren't just decorations, they're glittering fragments of holiday history, each one holding memories of Christmases past and the faint scent of pine needles and existential dread that the holidays can sometimes bring. Their trees probably look like a glorious, sparkling explosion of nostalgia. 20. Fossils and bones. Forget collecting stamps. Some people prefer their historical artifacts to be millions of years old and formerly alive. Fossilized plants, intricate trilobites that look like armored woodlice from another dimension, or even the occasional dinosaur bone, if their bank account is robust enough, are prized possessions. Smaller, more accessible items like ancient shark teeth or beautifully spiraled ammonites offer a tangible connection to a prehistoric world. It's a hobby that lets you hold a piece of deep time in your hand and ponder your own fleeting existence. Fun. 21. Vintage Viewmaster Reels. Click. Whir. Ah, the magic of the Viewmaster, transporting you to far-off lands or into the heart of your favorite cartoon. One tiny, stereoscopic image at a time. Those little cardboard discs filled with miniature slides are now highly collectible. Enthusiasts hunt for reels showcasing defunct tourist attractions. Visit the Asbestos Mine Museum. Rare Disney editions that were probably recalled for some terrifying reason, or even obscure educational sets. Each reel is a lo-fi portal to a simpler, often more bizarrely colored, past. 22. Belly button lint. Yes, you read that correctly. We've covered this territory before, but it bears repeating in its sheer, unadulterated weirdness. Some individuals meticulously collect their own navel fluff. One Australian gentleman even holds a world record, proving that dedication knows no bounds, and apparently, neither does the human capacity to find a hobby in absolutely anything. It's a deeply personal, slightly unsettling, and undeniably unique collection that makes you wonder about the lint-to-life choices ratio. 23. Unusual playing cards. A standard deck of 52 is for amateurs. True connoisseurs of pasteboard seek out playing cards that are anything but ordinary. We're talking decks with holographic dragons, cards illustrated by obscure surrealist artists, sets shaped like coffins or pizza slices, or those printed with invisible ink that only reveals itself under a blacklight, perfect for your next clandestine poker game. Each deck is a miniature gallery of art, design, and occasionally, questionable taste, transforming a simple game of Go Fish into a high-concept aesthetic experience. 24. Retro fast food toys. Remember the thrill of digging through a greasy paper bag to unearth a tiny plastic representation of your favorite cartoon character? Those cheap, mass-produced fast food toys that once littered the floor of your parents' minivan are now surprisingly valuable collectibles. From complete sets of McDonald's Happy Meal figures to rare promotional items for blockbuster movies, these toys are a potent shot of nostalgia. Some full sets, especially from limited-time offers, can fetch sums that would buy you a lifetime supply of the actual fast food. 25. Barf bags from airlines. While most air travelers pray they never have to use one, some intrepid collectors actively seek out these humble paper receptacles of potential aerial distress. Airlines, in a fit of corporate optimism or dark humor, often printed their logos or even quirky designs on them. These unused bags are now considered quirky pieces of aviation history, with bonus points awarded for specimens from defunct airlines whose safety records were as questionable as their graphic design choices. It's a collection that truly says, I'm prepared for anything, especially turbulence. 26. Obsolete airline memorabilia. Step back into the golden age of air travel, when flying was a glamorous adventure, not a cramped endurance test. Collectors of obsolete airline memorabilia hoard everything from elegant old ticket jackets and vintage boarding passes to branded swizzle sticks and surprisingly chic stewardess uniforms. These items represent a time when passengers dressed up, meals were served on real china, and legroom wasn't a mythical concept. Rare finds, like early safety cards depicting hilariously outdated emergency procedures or first-class menus. Listing lobster thermidor can be surprisingly valuable. 27. Vintage pinball machines. Before video games confined a generation to their couches, there was the glorious, clanking, flashing chaos of the pinball machine. Collectors adore these behemoths, not just for the nostalgic thrill of chasing a silver ball, but for their vibrant backglass artwork that often features questionable depictions of space vixens or rock stars, and their complex electromechanical guts. Restoring a vintage pinball machine to its former glory is a true labor of love, a symphony of solenoids, bumpers, and the satisfying thwack of flippers. 28. Vintage skates. Whether gliding gracefully on ice or wobbling precariously on four wheels, skates have a long and stylish history. Collectors seek out vintage roller skates and ice skates from bygone eras, admiring their often leather boots, retro color schemes, and sometimes terrifyingly rudimentary wheel or blade technology. Some restore these relics to wearable condition, while others display them as sculptural artifacts of evolving recreational culture and a time when a broken ankle was just part of the fun. 29. Teapots with a twist. Who decreed that teapots must be staid and sensible? Certainly not the collectors who go gaga for teapots shaped like disgruntled cats, alien spacecraft, famous landmarks, or even a surprisingly detailed human skull. These whimsical vessels transform the simple act of brewing tea into a delightful exercise in absurdity. For these enthusiasts, the more bizarre and impractical the design, the better. A teapot collection can quickly become the centerpiece of a home, proving that afternoon tea can be a conversation starter for all the weirdest reasons. 30. Vintage soap bars. Before liquid soap and its soulless plastic pump bottle dominated every sink, soap came in beautifully wrapped, often fragrant bars. Collectors now hunt for these relics of a cleaner, more aesthetically pleasing past. They seek out old, forgotten brands with elaborate packaging that captures the design zeitgeist of different decades: Art Deco elegance, psychedelic 70s swirls, or bold 80s graphics. Bonus points. If the soap, after decades in storage, still retains a faint, ghostly whiff of its original scent, a fragrant memento of bygone bathing rituals. 31. Old keys. Before the bland uniformity of key cards and digital locks, keys were miniature sculptures of metal, each with a distinct personality. Collectors of old keys aren't just amassing bits of brass and iron, they're hoarding tiny, tangible mysteries. Skeleton keys that once granted access to creaking Victorian mansions, hefty padlock keys that guarded forgotten treasure chests, or maybe just a dusty shed. Each one whispers tales of secrets kept and doors long since sealed. It's a hobby that unlocks the imagination, even if the keys themselves no longer unlock anything tangible. 32. Old matchstick models. Most of us struggle to light a campfire without setting ourselves ablaze, but some patient souls transform humble matchsticks into breathtaking works of art. We're talking intricate ships with rigging so fine it defies belief, sprawling architectural replicas of famous landmarks, or even entire miniature cities, all painstakingly glued together one tiny sliver of wood at a time. Collectors of these delicate marvels appreciate not just the finished product, but the sheer, mind-boggling dedication and steady hands required. It's a testament to what humans can achieve with a mountain of matchsticks and an ocean of patience. 33. Rubber duckies. Quack, squeak, collect. What starts as a simple bath toy for a toddler can escalate into an obsession that fills entire rooms. From the classic, cheerful yellow ducky to themed variations like swashbuckling pirate ducks, stoic superhero ducks, or even ghoulish zombie ducks because bath time needs more horror, apparently. The variety is astounding. Some cities even host annual rubber duck races, where thousands of these buoyant companions bob their way to glory. It's a hobby that proves joy can be found in the simplest, squeakiest of forms. 34. Pressed pennies. These elongated, embossed copper ovals are the quintessential cheap souvenir, a tangible memory squashed from a perfectly good penny. Collectors meticulously hunt these metallic mementos from tourist traps, national parks, and long-forgotten theme parks. Each one commemorates a place visited, an event attended, or simply a moment when they had a few spare coins and access to a magical penny flattening machine. A well-curated collection becomes a pocket-sized metallic history book, tracing adventures one squashed cent at a time. 35. Beer cans. For some, an empty beer can is just recycling. For collectors, it's a cylindrical canvas of brewing history and graphic design. From the classic, understated designs of macrobreweries to the often outrageously artistic labels of craft microbrews, the variety is endless. Enthusiasts organize their hoards by brewery, region, vintage, or even by the level of ironic hipsterdom conveyed by the artwork. It's a hobby that often starts with enjoying the contents and evolves into appreciating the container long after the last drop is gone. 36. Rocks shaped like animals. While some sculptors chip away at stone to create likenesses, these collectors let Mother Nature do the heavy lifting. They scour beaches, riverbeds, and hiking trails for rocks that, through eons of erosion and geological happenstance, bear an uncanny resemblance to animals. A stone that looks like a slumbering turtle, a pebble that perfectly mimics a perched owl, or a boulder that could pass for a petrified elephant. The possibilities are endless. Some even polish these natural sculptures to enhance their features, creating a personal zoo of geological oddities. 37. Retro lunchboxes. Before brown paper bags or sleek bento boxes, there was the mighty metal lunchbox, a sturdy vessel for bologna sandwiches and a powerful statement of a child's pop culture allegiances. Collectors now pay top dollar for these nostalgic metal rectangles, especially those emblazoned with superheroes, cartoon characters, or TV cowboys from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. A rare Superman or the Beatles lunchbox, complete with its matching thermos, can fetch sums that would buy a lifetime supply of school lunches. It's a bite-sized piece of childhood, preserved in painted tin. 38. Fake food displays. Those eerily realistic plastic sushi platters and impossibly perfect polymer burgers you see in restaurant windows. Some people actually collect them. Originally designed as inedible advertisements, these hyper-detailed fake food items have found a niche following. Collectors appreciate the artistry involved in making a plastic steak look juicy or a rubber ice cream cone appear tantalizingly melty. Some even create entire ersatz kitchens, stocked with a cornucopia of inedible delights. It's a celebration of culinary deception, a feast for the eyes, if not the stomach. 39. Pez dispensers. That satisfying thunk as a tiny candy brick emerges from the neck of a plastic cartoon character. It's a sound that defines childhood for many. What began as a simple Austrian breath mint dispenser has exploded into a global collecting phenomenon. From vintage Disney characters to limited edition Star Wars stormtroopers, from beloved superheroes to obscure historical figures, there's a Pez dispenser for almost everything. Collectors treasure these quirky, colorful gadgets, their shelves lined with rows of tiny spring-loaded heads, ready to dispense sugary nostalgia at a moment's notice. 40. Salt and pepper packets. While most of us tear them open without a second thought, some eagle-eyed individuals see tiny treasures in those ubiquitous salt and pepper packets. Fast food chains, airlines, and restaurants often use these miniature seasoning sachets as branding opportunities, featuring unique logos, clever slogans, or designs that capture a specific era. Collectors amass these papery portfolios of flavor, creating a surprisingly detailed timeline of corporate identity and the evolution of on-the-go condiment convenience. It's a very low-sodium, high-patience hobby. 41. Antique candlesticks. In an age of LED bulbs and smart lighting, the humble candlestick evokes a bygone era of flickering flames and shadowy elegance. Collectors prize antique candlesticks not just for their historical function but for their exquisite craftsmanship. Whether crafted from gleaming silver, heavy brass, or delicate colored glass, these pieces come in a dazzling array of styles, from ornate Art Nouveau designs with swirling botanical motifs to stark, sturdy colonial forms. Each one is a miniature sculpture, a silent testament to a time when illumination was an art form. 42. Vintage circus posters. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The bold typography, the dramatic illustrations of death-defying acrobats, fearsome beasts, and enigmatic mystics. Vintage circus posters are vibrant, chaotic masterpieces of advertising art. Collectors cherish these glimpses into the golden age of the big top, when traveling circuses brought wonder and spectacle to towns across the country. Rare posters featuring legendary acts like P.T. Barnum's Greatest Show on Earth or the gravity-defying Flying Wallendas can command prices as astounding as the feats they once proclaimed. 43. Vintage comic strips. Before graphic novels and webcomics, daily newspapers delivered sequential art adventures one small panel at a time. Original prints or carefully clipped newspaper sections featuring beloved comic strips like Peanuts, Calvin and Hobbes, or Dick Tracy are a treasure for fans and collectors. Some frame their favorite strips, preserving a moment of humor or pathos, while others hunt down rare early editions, tracing the evolution of iconic characters and the changing styles of cartooning. It's a nostalgic journey back to a time when laughter arrived with the morning paper. 44. Movie props. Why just watch the magic of Hollywood when you can own a piece of it? Collectors of movie props acquire tangible artifacts from the silver screen. A prop sword wielded by a fantasy hero, a futuristic gadget from a sci-fi epic, or even a seemingly mundane chair graced by a legendary actor. These items bring a piece of cinematic history into the collector's home, blurring the line between fan and archivist. Iconic props, of course, can fetch astronomical sums at auction, proving that some movie memories are truly priceless, or at least very, very expensive. 45. Tiny hats. It sounds like something a particularly eccentric squirrel might collect, but tiny hats have a dedicated human following. These miniature marvels of millinery, often created for dolls, fashion displays, or purely whimsical purposes, come in every imaginable style. Elegant little fascinators, jaunty top hats scaled down for a mouse, or comically small party hats. It's a niche pursuit, certainly, but for those who appreciate diminutive dapperness, it's an adorable and surprisingly intricate hobby that adds a touch of playful absurdity to any shelf. 46. Oddly shaped vegetables. While most of us seek out perfectly formed produce, some individuals celebrate nature's quirky sense of humor by collecting oddly shaped vegetables. A carrot that has grown into a pair of convincing legs, a tomato that bears an uncanny resemblance to a rubber duck, or a potato that looks like a grumpy old man. These are the stars of their collection. Some simply photograph these agricultural anomalies, while others preserve them through various, sometimes alarming methods, or even incorporate them into art projects. It's a garden of earthly and earthy delights. 47. Old maps. Long before GPS and satellite imagery, maps were hand-drawn windows to the world, blending art, science, and often a healthy dose of guesswork. Collectors of old maps cherish these cartographic treasures, from centuries-old charts depicting mythical sea monsters in uncharted waters to mid-century road maps that trace the nostalgic arteries of Route 66. The beauty lies in the details: intricate compass roses, elaborate cartouches, and the sometimes hilariously inaccurate coastlines that reveal how our ancestors perceived their place on the globe. 48. Miniature vehicles. From die-cast muscle cars that fit in the palm of your hand to intricately detailed model trains that chug around elaborate miniature landscapes, the world of miniature vehicle collecting is vast and varied. Whether it's vintage Hot Wheels still in their original blister packs, meticulously crafted model airplanes, or scale replicas of iconic movie cars, these tiny vehicles often boast stunning detail. Collectors might focus on specific eras, manufacturers, or themes, creating miniature garages and tarmacs filled with pint-sized power and precision. 49. Antique medical tools. For those who find collecting antique doll heads a bit too cheerful, there's always the world of antique medical tools. We're talking about items that make you profoundly grateful for modern anesthesia. Collectors scour flea markets for Civil War-era bone saws, menacing-looking forceps, and mysterious metal clamps whose purpose is best left to the imagination. Each rusted, unsterilized piece is a beautiful, terrifying reminder of a time when biting the bullet wasn't just a metaphor. It's a collection that sits at the uncomfortable intersection of historical preservation and curating your own personal house of horrors. Is it a tribute to medical progress or just a great way to make sure house guests never overstay their welcome? You decide. 50. Old TV dinner trays. Here's a relic from the golden age of questionable cuisine and family-wide television hypnosis. Before microwave meals in flimsy plastic, there were TV dinners in sturdy, compartmentalized aluminum trays. Collectors hunt for vintage examples from brands like Swanson or Morton, preserving the very containers that once held that famously rubbery Salisbury steak, those suspiciously watery corn kernels, and the brownie that permanently fused itself to the metal. These aren't just pieces of foil, they're culinary time capsules that represent the dawn of eating without ever having to make eye contact with your loved ones. It's a collection that perfectly preserves the taste of freezer burn and post-war convenience. 49. Hotel keys. Before the era of soulless plastic key cards that demagnetize if you look at them wrong, hotel keys were often substantial, ornate pieces of metal, sometimes attached to equally hefty fobs. Collectors seek out these vintage keys, each one a tangible link to travel's past and grand old hotels around the world. Engraved with intricate logos, room numbers, and sometimes even ominous warnings about not taking them home, a rule clearly ignored by these enthusiasts. They are small, heavy reminders of a time when hospitality had a more tangible, clinkable charm. Okay, which of these collections officially crossed the line from quirky hobby to grounds for a wellness check in your book? And more importantly, what's the most spectacularly weird thing you secretly hoard or have witnessed someone else amass with unnerving dedication? The comments section is now open for confessions. The stranger, the better. If this little tour through the attics of American eccentricity didn't scare you off, consider bestowing a like and subscribing for more dives into the wonderfully odd. Your future self will thank you. Probably.